and he ran past important items that dropped from enemies, which no one in their right mind who's played the game would do. No loot filter, which, by the way, isn't exactly something that you are required to use or anything, but people who have spent enough time in the game would use the loot filter. Didn't have one. One of the more amusing things.
That one's
that
one's
less of an issue.
I was gonna say I wouldn't mark that one as a big issue.
It's not a big issue.
When stacked up with everything
else, it looks very suspect. One of the more amusing things that is probably, I think, one of the most noticeable things that causes people to think, or at least, we can all agree on, more or less sort of shows that it isn't exactly only his character, is there's a tab in his stash called Elon's Map, or Elon's Maps. And it's just like, why would you do that on your own stash? I mean, sure, Elon is a person I could say probably did that. But on top of everything, it's just like, this character's obviously account shared. And is honestly hilarious that he tried to show that he was competent at the game. We have, like, everyone who's ever played PoE2, well, not everyone who's ever played, but like most of the big personalities who played the game or know of the game, pointing out that, it's obviously not his character and he's not good at the game. And it makes him look like a fool to have tried to do so. Hunger for Adventure ever stated no.
So yeah, that was the one where you had to do that. So I would save here.
Yeah, okay. So yeah.
Okay.
I made one.
I think that other one was where we started today, so it's fine.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'll drag this out, yep. Let's go.
Alright. Now we can start. It's I don't know why there's like 2 red exclamation points where you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Before it sends you in. It's kind of weird.
I just find it funny. Because Elon, I think he's trying to make a game studio using only like AI generated stuff to make the game. And he was trying to show himself to be a good gamer, but he just isn't.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you hang on? Did you see what she just said? You know the windy paths with all the currents that is this area.
Yeah, he just rode this rickety dinghy through there. Yeah.
What's the matter, kid? Starstruck by your dear old dad?
Yeah, I just find it funny that he was trying to be
I'll give you that.
Hello, fellow gamers.
Doesn't sound like the Karja I know.
With his backwards baseball cap and skateboard over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah,
through a
except
lot
when
lately.
the main problem is
Anyhow, this is around where your
even
crewmate
what he
can't
did
lie. Seems as
has
good a place to
people
go ashore as
talking
any.
about it, which
Yeah.
ultimately is probably the goal.
It is. Yeah, but he really wanted
Definitely
to
tough
be
to spot this area from out in the open
quote
waters.
unquote quote part of the in crowd. He should have just played the game
couldn't
and
ask for a
been
better
terrible at it.
campsite.
Just owned it.
If the plan doesn't start till tomorrow, what about the rest of today? There's still some time left before sundown.
I'll be spending it the usual way, by heading off for some sightseeing at that Grieger fortress in this case. Always best to survey a battlefield with your own feet and eyes before the guts start spilling.
Figured you'd say that. Just try to keep out of trouble.
Way ahead of you. This won't take long. Be back in 2 shakes.
But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Path of the Exile too.
So,
Still,
where's that leave us?
yeah,
Should we
it's
rest
good.
up for tomorrow?
There's some things that they need to iron out, and we're waiting for the patch notes and talk or interview thing that they're going to do on Sunday. Walk around.
Guess it is a bit early to be turning in. Might as well stay up and about.
And depending
Wouldn't
on
want our muscles
how
going soft.
UGG goes with the or does with the video and notes from their conversations with other people, because they're doing like an interview on one of the bigger PoE streamers channels.
Okay.
It will basically let us know whether or not they are with the community or not.
Is this the area Gren
And
was talking about?
knowing them, they more than likely not will be with the community. So I'm not too worried, but there is that 1% chance that they just like are gonna stick with their guns. They're like, this is how it needs to be because this is what we want, and loses a bunch of people in the process, which I highly doubt they will. I think they have a good plan, and we shall see what they plan to do going forward.
All right.
I started up a second character to try out a different build. And then about a quarter of the way through playing that character, I saw a different build which goes on the same character base type, and I'm like, you know what, I want to play that because that character is essentially Singed from League.
Okay.
Do you know Singed or?
I do.
Okay. But for those who don't know, Singed is the character that trails poison behind him.
Yeah, I was gonna say Singed is an old enough character that even for the brief few years I played League, I know who that is.
Yeah, so the build is based off of generating lots of poison around you,
Found something.
and it uses these unique boots that
We'll
have
need to find
the
another route.
ability to basically activate a skill every time you take a step. And that ability is nearby corpses get turned into poison clouds. So, and that ability does damage based off of the corpse's like max HP. So it does like
Oh, cool.
essentially scaling poison damage scaled to the enemy you're using as fuel, which is essentially the current level of whatever you're facing.
Yeah.
So it's a completely scaling ability that trails poison around where the corpses are. And so the idea is you just like walk into an area, you get one kill, and then suddenly the whole screen is clouds of poison and everything dies. Which is honestly very interesting because I was a fan of Singed when I played League. Basically, you just grab people, throw them in poison clouds, and laugh at them as they die. So I wanted to do that build. So I got a bunch of items together, which let me at least partially try it. But I didn't have enough skill points to completely transition to the build, because sometimes for PoE, you have to do builds that there's different stages of your build. So there's the leveling stage, which you're
Make sure
building power up.
to do a sense. You missed some things.
There's sometimes, depending on the build, a stage where you can't really do a build yet because you either don't have enough points to get all the nodes to start the build in your passive tree, or you just don't have equipment, or you're not strong enough to have all the stats to be able to wield all of the many skills that you would need for that build.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do starter builds or
This here.
kind of dumbed down versions of builds in order to get started and be able to muddle your way through to get to the point where you can go exponential. And so I tried swapping over to the build I wanted to try, and it just didn't work out. I didn't have enough skill points. And my gear was pretty bad. So I went all the way back and redid what I was doing originally, which was
A rare find.
just like bows with like lightning. So you shoot lightning arrows down from the sky, and then those are like act as like lightning rods, and then you shoot forked lightning bolts at them, and then they just kind of kept bouncing off the lightning rods
Oh, that's cool.
to kill everything in the area. And then you could either, for bosses, you could just shoot those arrows down, the lightning rods, and then you just put down a giant orb of like electricity that forks lightning out, and it just kind of keeps triggering all of those lightning rods.
Looks valuable.
And so it's a very fun build, and that was my original plan, but then I got sidetracked by the Singed build.
Yeah.
And so now I went back to the lightning build, and now I have to play the lightning build so I can get far enough along where switching to the Singed build makes more sense. So I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to their update on Sunday. Anyway, it's time for me to mess up my words. I, Torsten of the White Whale, already starting, writ word to stone. Even after Rollo was in royal robes, garbed, he and his wife without fail walked to Castle Town. Why is it written like? I hate it. Just voice act it, please, so I don't have to suffer. Soundly was sovereign by subjects beloved.
Sovereign.
Yeah. Spell it correctly, please. My God.
It is spelled correctly.
Sure.
For whatever language they're using.
Right. Do I blame the French again?
Yeah, I think you do.
You know what? I'm blaming the French again, regardless of whether or not.
It's like Gren.
agreed.
It's like Gren.
Yeah. Any words that are wrong, blame the French.
Yeah, you just blame the French.
Compeer and friend did he call out to them. No more was his madness that menaced all. Half-hewn hands now held a tiny princess. This peace-touched age, we prayed, would continue for centuries. Millennia, nay. Peaceless years more. But yet, and alas, were our yearnings not to be. In a thrice, great disaster descends upon Duchy. A 10-day after crisis, country lost by morn, who stood stricken left without naught save our life. Leaving Ark's safety, we land at cliff's precipice, as the welkin wails and the winds howl in torment. Eyes look out at lands we loved so dear, as sunk beyond reach beneath sunless weight. Oh no, is there another sunken island? Is that all Ys games now? Is just sunken islands and sky islands that have reverse sunk?
Listen,
Yeah.
the island is either above the water or below the water. If it's just on the water, that's boring.
It's true. It is pretty boring.
Can't have a game made up of just a bunch of islands. What do you think this is? A ship game?
That would be insane.
Insane.
do it- they should do it
Complete
in the next
insanity.
game.
They should do it in the next game.
Board arcs, my people, bade Rollo with vigor. This dictum his last, despairing thenceforth. What fate had befallen our fair king, we pled. The heavens refuse us, no herald responds. Young princess by potentate placed in my care. Bereft of all hate bearing, I bring her hand.
This runestone.
Another one about Rollo.
Aye. And a record of the great calamity at that.
Oh, and Karja, I think it is the same Rollo we've been rating out this entire time before. Just so you know, it is the same Rollo. I'm pretty certain.
Rollo tried to save his people by the sound of things. Then it says he disappeared. Why, though? That reminds me.
Went down with the
You
ship.
think the Grieger ever managed to track down Rollo's kin?
Might find out.
Maybe. But if Rollo does
Pro
get
CD,
revived,
isn't it?
it'll be as our enemy, right? We can't be too careful
What,
tomorrow.
what would the odds be?
Let's head
It's
back
Pro
to camp
CD.
before it gets dark.
The odds, I'd say, are
they're-
greater than 50%.
Oh, okay.
Either that or it's Grannon. We should have tossed him off the ship. It would
Hey,
be
did you
Pro
100%
CD.
this area?
Good.
Oh, nice.
It would,
Now you
it
just
would
get
be
to run
like
back.
Pro CD to
Hey, you should skateboard.
I should skip.
Let's make tracks.
It would be
This is
like
all
Pro
downhill,
CD
so.
to play a character and then get a character who turns evil halfway through.
But you don't understand. His machinations lie undetected for years.
I know. That's why he was able to get the rolls.
How's that?
I think you might be able to make this jump.
Nope.
There's no way you make it. Aha! Now you're dead.
Let's make tracks.
Yeah, you have to go around.
That was pretty funny.
I don't know why it
So-
lets you do that, but it is pretty funny. Yeah, downhill,
Across
And
the
then-
Rainbow Bridge.
around hill, and then
Here goes.
I think it's funnier if I don't just remind you that you can warp. It's funnier this way.
It is. Speaking of, since I was playing Path of Exile 2, has there been anything you've been playing other than Ark, which you lost track of time
yeah.
in?
Yeah, something important came up.
It's fine.
No, so I'm still playing Trials of Mana. I'm in the post game of my first playthrough. I'm gonna have to do 3 to get all the achievements.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm almost a third of the way done.
Grimson, what are you up to?
Ah, there you are. A boar saw fit to attack me on my way back from scouting around. Thought it'd make
Cannot
for a perfect
unhear it.
dinner, so I went ahead and hunted it down.
Oh, you actually know how to cook?
Surprised? This is a dish I used to make for Ilena all the time long ago.
I can't unhear it.
Yup, it's one of her favorites. Denmark style boar stew. Just needs to simmer a while longer before we can dig in.
Smells good already.
What was she like?
Ilena? Well, let's see. She wasn't quite up to snuff as a warrior, only average at best. But even then, it'd be no stretch to call her the founder of the Balta Sea Force.
What?
As you already know, we Normans were forced to leave our homeland when the dire winter hit. Most of our people continue to earn their crust by looting and plundering. But her, she wanted to create a place where Normans could build lives instead of tearing them down.
Why is this the first I'm hearing of that?
Because it's the first time we're talking about it. The Balta Sea Force was formed out of folks who shared in Ilena's beliefs. A right shame she passed on before her vision was ever realized.
Mom.
Whoop, looks like the stew is all ready. I'll tell you the rest of the story tomorrow. If we survive, that is. Now grab a bowl and chow down.
Right.
It's chock full of ginger, so a few spoonfuls should warm your body up right quick.
This is delicious. Reminds me of old times, somehow.
Does it? Might be that we fed you some as a babe.
Maybe.
So, Adel, you turning the trident into mulch this time, or what?
Don't know until we try.
Hey now, put some gusto into it. Your neck's on the line here.
No more games need to do this where they do
That the brand Other gave
crazy
ya? Is Raven sure no
customization
rematch,
in
yeah?
cutscenes.
It shows itself
Yeah.
sometimes whenever the generals are nearby.
Between that and you being shackled to
It's
Karja,
the
you're
it's
a regular
psychological warfare to have
smorgasbord
my
of
Picard
curses.
stare into their souls.
That brand is nearing its deadline, so we'd best get this wrapped up tomorrow.
The best
This will
part
be our
is he's
chance to
staring
settle
over
the
his
score with
shoulder
Yurth, too.
with one
I
eye.
heard you're able to put Yurth and Logger on the back
The
foot.
best part.
But compared to them, Other's got the edge in sheer force of might. So don't you go dying on me out there, huh?
If you mention it, I was
There's
like,
no
what
telling
Pickard?
who's squaring off against which general tomorrow. Could be that
There's
I'll end
nothing
up
there.
taking Other's head. No hard feelings if I do,
That made me as long as you give him good.
Will do. We got a big day ahead of us, so be sure to stick to the script. Ugh. Well, that takes care of the old belly. About time we call it a night and rest up for tomorrow. Right then, you two ready and raring to go? Step 1 of the plan is to trek north up the Falaise Peninsula and head for the enemy fortress. Should make for a brisk morning walk, eh? Just treat it as a warm-up. Wouldn't want to wear yourself down from the outset.
Yeah,
Well,
sure,
let me
Posey
down,
D.
you two.
Thank God. It's permanent in my head now.
Hugo!
Do me a favor, Hoogle.
I can make a new box lunch.
Yeah. You
This is a terrible, terrible day. Thankfully, I have one.
Why is
but
that?
It's still a terrible,
I was gonna
terrible
say
day.
you have one. It's fine. That is the best one you've got so far, though, because it's just
Resist
regen
all.
large and all elements, as opposed to
What
any
should
other
I
ones
do
that are
next?
medium and one element. Also, he's got all the gear that Fault Island had. So
Yeah.
Whew. All finished. What's your
Breath
thanks for the
water.
help.
I swear they need to change that name.
nope.
I bet we can catch something.
Hot fix the name, please. So it's Revive Potion, not Breath.
It's the breath of life.
Yeah, I know.
But you drink your breath. Drink your breath.
Drink your breath. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to inhale your breaths.
Nope.
How's that?
Then you can see more colors.
Nope.
How's that?
Don't you want to see the red painting that looks super, super cool when you have like over 10,000 breaths? No? That's sad. Sad days.
Drink this caffeine.
I can do that.
Helps you see faster.
It does. It also keeps you awake most of the time. But you're not
Sure.
extremely highly resistant to it after consuming so much for so long. Don't do that. Speaking of which, I need
Sure.
to drink more caffeine.
Oh no.
Yeah. Hit this transition so I can drink. Oh,
Denied.
there we go. A little bit caffeine.
Let's turn back.
Rude. Game is rude to me. You know, he had fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun doing that voice line.
Gotcha. Send Hoogle out.
We starting the mission?
Strike like lightning, hard and fast. That's the creed of the Balta Sea Force.
Oh.
Once they get the go-ahead from Hoogle, our men will show themselves on the water. The second those galoots in the fortress begin to stir, we infiltrate.
You've got a big part to play here, Hoogle. Make us proud.
Moving on. Doesn't look like the enemy's made any big changes since yesterday. That brand around your neck will let you know if one of the trident's prongs is close, right? Any chance that works the same in reverse?
It's possible.
So what? No one other? He'll still probably face us fair and square.
Huh. That right. Either way, they're gonna pay the piper for tearing up our turf.
There's the signal. Balta Sea Force! First and second flotilla! Dead slow ahead!
All right, crew, let's get to work.
Why is this music so good?
Dead slow ahead. Steer
There's only
clear.
so many times we can be
Focus right to
amazed at
fire.
Falcom's musical prowess.
No, there is not. It is every time, all the time. There's no limit.
No going back now.
There's no limit.
Remember, the three of us bust in
They
as a
limit-
group.
Their
From
limit
there, your
break
objective is to storm their
is
central
amazing
command
music.
post. Now look alive. It's time to swing into action.
My God. Anyway. I was gonna say I recently finished a story.
Hang on.
Makes you wonder just how much Your Highness the Pirate Princess has grown
There
up.
you go.
Oh, you better believe I'll show you.
But anyway, I was reading a series, and I'm sad now because I'm also now out of books again.
Hooray!
Except for when I can restart Wind and Truth because I got super
Mama sense
busy
might
and
come in
couldn't
handy
focus
here. Didn't expect this
books
here.
other than being tired and falling asleep after I got home. So while I was trying to like ramp myself back up to getting back into the swing of reading that book, I read a story, or at least got back up on a story that I'd started a while ago that got renamed. It's called American Isekai by Spade, but with an A, spelled with a 4 instead of an A. It's basically, it's like, you know how all the protagonists in Isekai stories are all like Japanese students.
Scan.
I thought I did, but I guess I didn't get this section while I was down here. Like,
You
how
also
they're all, like-
completely just didn't go to the end of this section.
That's true. They're like, you know how typically isekai stories about students in, you know, like Eastern countries. They're like, yeah. So there's a reason why Americans aren't isekai'd. This is why. And the puts a good old Texan in the story where people get some powers based on, well, so there are 3 power types. There's the knight, which is like super strong, fast, stamina. Then there's like the mage, which is mage.
Yeah.
And then there's summoner, which can either be a hot summoner or a cold summoner. A hot summoner summons like creatures. A cold summoner summons items. Items come from other dimensions, and people think that they have histories, stuff from other like dimensions.
Does our isekai protagonist, by any chance, cast gun?
He does cast minigun.
Cool.
And so as he powers up, he goes through the progression of like firearms through the history. So at first he starts with like a flintlock, and right now in the story where I'm
My
at,
man's over here playing gun game.
yeah, he has modern weaponry, or at least just shy of modern weaponry, like late Vietnam War era weapons.
Party rolling.
But
Get out of here.
this story is a little bit more interesting than most, for typical isekai stories at least. The story, world building, is essentially humanity itself is fighting what is essentially the Zerg. And they've lost a lot. And so there's like a handful of human enclaves left on the planet. There we go, perfect. There's a handful of human enclaves left on the planet, and basically this Texan man who can cast a gun is going to help try to alleviate that problem slightly. And besides being a little silly in the sense that he casts a gun and everyone thinks he's weak because they don't know what he can do, which you know is kind of standard for these stories. It's actually world built very well. Characters are written extremely well.
Okay.
A lot of the plot has to do with humanity being a bane to itself while trying to survive the Zerg. And it is just written quite well. I'm surprised it hasn't been published in an actual book yet. But it's a solid story. I recommend it for those who like isekai stories. It's essentially enhanced in it, like with his like processing power and brain power, and he can slowly develop like perfect memory, so he can recall like all of the everything he's ever seen in his life. So he starts like a mini industrial revolution, sort of, in the sense that, you know, we need actual weapons that can fight these things, because what's that game where you play, it's not like tower defense, but it's similar to tower defense, but it's like a strategy game where you manage like your resources.
Scan before you leave. You're fine.
Like
what?
Goo or something, where so there's a classic, I say classic, but it's like an older retro, well, like not, it's a niche game where you manage your resources and your goal is to push out this wave of goo that's collapsing in on you, and to slowly expand out and take back your
One done and dusted.
your
You doing
the
okay
area
there?
that's
That sounds like
designated for you.
That sounds like Creeper World.
Creeper World, that's the one. So he's playing. So humanity is playing Creeper World, but also being humanity. So they're all like backstabbing each other and doing nonsense, keep each other down because of their own personal greed. So he's got to contend with that. He's got to contend with the fact that everyone thinks he's weak because he's a summoner, and no summoner has been able to reach the peak of power yet. Because it's like they think it's a flawed path, but it's just like not enough people have tried hard enough to be able to find the solution. And he has gun.
Yeah.
So with his knowledge from another planet, he's able to put in the works
Happy to see us, huh?
a bit of a technological revolution. At least near the end of the story that is currently written. Yeah, he has like tanks in the works. He made planes. They could bomb the Zerglings. It's all very interesting, and I highly recommend it.
All right.